1. Xi Lian Shenzhou, Shanghai City, 8 a.m. I really am beautiful. A young girl stood at her bathroom sink, admiring her reflection. The face in the mirror was so exquisitely formed, it almost seemed to blur reality itself. Her eyes were bright with feeling, so moist they looked as if they could speak. Her long, soft hair fell to the small of her back, making her skin look even paler and smoother. Even without any filters, she was flawless. Cyrene smiled. She was a perfect 10. There wasn't a single feature she could criticize. She was very pleased. Her looks had only been slightly improved compared to her previous life, yet inexplicably she'd become a kind of super beauty that made heads turn. And today, Cyrene had arrived in a different life. Well, arrived might not be the exact word. Aside from a few differences, more people than before, a few changed facts, the world seemed basically the same as yesterday. Rather than a full transmigration, it felt more like a shift in the world line. It all started with something strange last night. As an ordinary ACG fan and gamer, Cyrene had been grinding her Trailblaze power, stamina, sanity, crystal wavelets, AP, and other resources like always. She was playing the Honkai Star Rail version 3.7 main story when a bizarre option popped up in the plot. Do you like the second dimension, ACG? Do you wish for characters from the second dimension, ACG, to appear in reality? Thinking it was an in-game Easter egg, she'd clicked yes twice. Then her vision had gone black. When she woke, it was already morning. At first, she assumed she'd simply played until she passed out, but when she looked in the mirror while washing her face, she realized something was very wrong. Was that really her? Cyrene had always been confident in her looks, but today she didn't just look good. She looked like she had some indescribable filter over her, as if she were a character straight out of an ACG. ACG wasn't a perfect word for it, but it was the closest she could think of. Something major had happened while she slept. She picked up her phone and started searching. There really is a superstar named Eden in the world. Soon she found profile after profile of the most famous celebrity on Earth. Eden. Wine red hair, a black and red gown, a beauty right up Cyrene's alley. Eden practically glittered like starlight. Cyrene, who adored beautiful girls, felt her mouth water and had to swallow hard to stop herself from staring. Her face flushed crimson as she scolded herself inwardly. No, Cyrene, you can't start drooling at the sight of a pretty woman. That's pervert-level behavior, she admonished herself. Good thing no one saw me do that. I'd have social death for sure. Cyrene looked away from the screen. Real people who matched ACG levels of beauty now existed in the world. Could this be because of the choice she'd made last night? The idea thrilled her. She liked ACG, but she didn't think the second dimension was the only place beauty could exist. If a three-dimensional person was perfect enough, she would love them just as much. Besides, this superstar resembled Eden from Honkai Impact 3rd. The gap between her and Eden, however, felt huge. Given Eden's talent and future, Cyrene doubted she'd ever meet her. She sighed. Although she shared a name with a character from the Chrysos Hairs in Honkai, Star Rail, and her looks had noticeably improved, Cyrene didn't believe she deserved any title like Flawless Maiden. The second dimension was beautiful because it was the second dimension, idealized, pure. Real people were messy, lustful, greedy, lazy. Cyrene knew herself. She was a lustful girl about to enter her final year of high school who liked to enjoy life. Lustful sounded harsh, though, so she corrected herself. She simply appreciated all the beautiful things in the world. The phrase sounded oddly familiar, and she shrugged off the weird sensation. She kept digging up information about Eden. Age listed as unknown, estimated 22 to 26. The most successful artist of the era, a phenomenal singer, the celebrity with the largest fan base on the planet. Eden was also described as the world's leading artist and architect. Cyrene stared at the laundry list of honors in wonder. Could such a perfect person really exist in the three-dimensional world? Then she remembered the game option and her blackout. If the world line had shifted, had reality been ACG-ified? It was absurd, but the encyclopedia entry offered another clue. Despite the shift, the game Honkai Impact 3rd still existed in this world, and Eden's name and character design were nearly identical to the Honkai Impact 3rd character. No coincidence, perhaps. Cyrene dove deeper and found the real reason Eden appeared in Honkai Impact 3rd. After the world line change, how games were made in her memory had altered too. Some Honkai Impact Third characters weren't invented from nothing. They'd been modeled after real people. Eden, the huge superstar with a billion-level fanbase, had secretly played Honkai Impact Third since its closed beta. A year after the game's public release, she'd even gone to MiHoYo headquarters in person to meet with the CEO. 2 months later, in the previous era's main storyline, a flame chaser named Eden appeared. Eden's presence in the game's story had been her personal request. So that was it. Cyrene rested her chin in her hand, thinking it over. Who would have guessed a glamorous superstar like Eden would openly play ACG? It was a shame, though. Her favorite Honkai Impact Third character, Alicia, didn't seem to have a real-life prototype. 2. The long night moon and past eclipse. Cyrene felt a little blue. Maybe it was the shift in the world line, despite Honkai Impact Third having Eden's full backing. Between the divine human plot lines and the creeping pay-to-win mechanics, 3 collapsed players no longer enjoyed the glory they once had. The game had dwindled into a relic of an older age. In short, the game was dead and nobody played it anymore. Yet Cyrene, a loyal Honkai Impact Third player who hadn't quit, still adored the character Alicia. For most captains, Alicia was that luminous, unattainable white moonlight. Even when Honkai Impact Third Part 2 came out, the release of a new Alicia battlesuit pulled returning veterans back in. Alicia had been developed that well, thinking that made Cyrene oddly proud, even if she was just a disposable customer to the game company. "It's such a shame," she murmured, "that even after the world line changed, there's still no real-life model for Alicia. If a real-life girl as beautiful as Alicia existed, although Cyrene considered herself ordinary, she fantasized she might have a chance to catch Alicia's attention. After all, Alicia was the white moonlight of all white moonlights." The thought made her blush and quickly clear her throat. After all, she played gacha games. A little daydreaming was harmless. "But a girl like Alicia can't possibly exist in real life, right?" she sighed. "Even if she did, I'm no match for Eden." Eden, the big-name celebrity, had openly declared herself an Alicia superfan. Cyrene couldn't compete with that. Still, whether the celebrity Eden had anything to do with the in-game Eden was beside the point. What mattered right now was far more mundane. School was starting in a few days. As a soon-to-be third-year high schooler, Cyrene had a mountain of summer homework, and she had barely touched any of it. She played multiple gacha games every day. Who had time to study? She was the kind of student whose grades barely scraped the middle to bottom even when she tried. With the expansion of universities in Shenzhou, Cyrene didn't feel confident about getting into her dream school. Would she end up at a vocational college? Not going to university didn't mean a life wasted, but the thought made her chest tighten. "Whenever we get real, reality just smacks me in the face," she muttered, face crumpling. If she didn't pull herself together in the next year, her future would be wrecked. But she had to finish an entire summer's worth of work in just a few days. "I absolutely can't do it, meow." So she decided to shortcut it. Call her bestie, March 7th. March 7th wasn't a holiday here, but a nickname. Her friend did have a real name, but it was awkward to say aloud, so Cyrene always used her lunar birthday. In chat, March 7th went by Long Night Moon. Her family name was Zhao, but Cyrene never used that. Cyrene pulled out her phone and messaged frantically. "It's Cyrene Meow. March, emergency. Have you finished your homework? Send me the answers, Meow." "Huh, when did you change your username?" "Never mind. Good March. Hurry and save me. If you help me finish my summer homework, I'll do anything. Meow." "Humph, you cat girl. You always think about yourself." "Fine. Wait for me." An hour later, Long Night Moon sent you homework collection. "It's Cyrene Meow. Thank you so much." "March is the best." Cyrene gushed, closing the chat and wishing could shower her friend with hugs and kisses and lift her into the air. There wasn't time for that now. She had to work a miracle with a pen and herself. People who believe in miracles are as amazing as miracles themselves. Several days later, it was 11:30 p.m. Cyrene, exhausted, set her pen down and stared at the thick stack of booklets on her desk. "On the night before school starts, I finally did it," she sighed, part relieved, part regretful that vacation was over. Still, A spark of anticipation lit inside her. Tomorrow, she would see her bestie in person after so long. Since the world line had shifted, would her friend have become super beautiful, like those turn of events in Eden's settings? Or, given that MiHoYo's headquarters was in Kanghai City and Little March lived there too, could the March 7th she knew be the real-life reference for MiHoYo's character? Cyrene resolved to tidy up and observe carefully the next day. 10 minutes later, she had finished her preparations, changed into pajamas, and lay down. She was about to drift off when the doorbell rang. She checked her phone. It was the middle of the night. Her skin prickled. A knock at this hour. Was it a person, a thief, a ghost? It couldn't possibly be a pretty girl, could it? Heart racing, Cyrene slipped on her slippers and tiptoed to the door. She peered through the peephole and saw a cold-looking girl standing on the other side who, horrifyingly, looked exactly like her. A double. Cyrene stumbled back 2 steps. Okay, the other girl looked like a beautiful girl, but she was a ghost wearing a beautiful girl's skin. This was bad. Calling the police wouldn't help, surely. "Why aren't you opening the door?" came the impatient voice of the girl outside. Cyrene had taken so long that irritation showed on the doppelganger's face. Cyrene's phone in her pocket started to ring. The sound made the stranger flinch, then glare hard at the peephole. "Well, Cyrene, I didn't expect you to still be so petty," the girl said. Her tone lodged like a memory, familiar, like an old acquaintance. But why did this acquaintance look like her? Cyrene rubbed her head, trying to sort through the fog of surprise. Do I know you?" The girl sneered. "You don't remember me? You don't remember your own sister, my dear older sister?" she said with a mocking curl to her lips. "Meow?" Cyrene replied, bewildered. 3. The genius Xiaoxi. Cyrene snapped back to reality at the sound of a familiar voice and forced herself toward the door. Peering through the peephole, she noticed small but distinct differences this time. Their faces were similar at a glance, but Cyrene's eyes were soft, peach blossom-shaped, while the visitors were narrower and colder. Both had fair skin, but Cyrene's had a warm, rosy glow. The girl's complexion was paler, a cool tone that made her seem almost porcelain. Not a ghost, then, just a beautiful girl who looked a lot like her. It hit her. This was her distant cousin, Xi. Not a blood relative, but the cousin she'd always bickered with in childhood, the one who'd once insisted, half in jest, on vying for the title of older sister. Cyrene relaxed a little. If Xi was human and breathing, everything else could be handled. She opened the door and poked her head out like a curious kitten. "Long time no see, Xi." Xi stood in the hallway, expression aloof. 2 large suitcases sat at her feet. "Didn't expect to drop by in the middle of the night," she said flatly. "I almost didn't recognize the place at first." "Oh," Cyrene forced a smile. You're moving in?" Xi shrugged. "I'm moving. Not my idea. Your mother invited me." Cyrene blinked. Of all the things, her mother had asked Xi to come live with them. She swallowed. There was no arguing with family decisions. If her mother wanted her cousin under the same roof, then so be it. She'd have to let go of her peaceful, solitary little life. As Xi stepped past her, Cyrene thought she caught a faint, almost amused smile at the corner of the girl's mouth. That couldn't be right. Xi had envied her since childhood and made no secret of her cool, competitive attitude. Cyrene chalked it up to imagination. "This is sudden," Cyrene said. "I didn't have time to set up another bed. I have to register at school tomorrow. Why don't you sleep in my bed tonight, and I'll take the sofa?" Xi stopped hauling her suitcase. "No need. 1 bed will do for the 2 of us." "My bed's big enough for both," Cyrene began, then froze. "Wait, sleep together? What's the matter? After not seeing me for so long, your courage has shrunk that you're afraid of your little sister?" Xi drawled, emphasizing the words. "Older sister. Who's scared? If we're sharing a bed, we're sharing a bed," Cyrene bristled. She was the older sister, after all. What was there to fear? Even if Xi nursed a grudge, could a little cousin really be a threat? The thought made her yawn, and she gave up arguing. Tomorrow was registration, and as a stressed third-year student in the hyper-competitive Divine Province, she couldn't afford to be sleep-deprived. "Fine," she said. "I'm going to bed. Leave your luggage. Take a shower, put on pajamas, and come sleep." "Do you have pajamas I can use? If not, wear mine. Our sizes are similar." Xi paused at the offer, then stayed silent about whether she'd actually brought pajamas. Half an hour later, Xi came out of the bathroom in Cyrene's pajamas, hair damp but mostly dried. Cyrene was already curled up on the bed, breathing evenly. Xi's expression was unreadable as she climbed into the covers. A faint scent of peach blossoms drifted up, Cyrene's perfume, Cyrene herself, and Xi's lips twitched imperceptibly. "What a big idiot," she murmured, slipping under the blanket. The next morning, 8:30 a.m. sunlight warmed Cyrene's cheeks, and her lashes fluttered like butterfly wings as she woke. "Another beautiful day," she sang, sitting up and stretching. Her hand landed on something soft, squishy, like a person. Then she remembered. She hadn't been alone in bed after all. Xi peered out from under the sheets, annoyed by the movement. "About time," she said. "Hurry and wash up. We're going to register at school together." "Register together?" Cyrene blinked. "You mean?" "Exactly." Xi was calm. "I'm transferring to your school." "But you were at Tsukinomori Academy in Neon. Why move to the Divine Province? It's so intense here." Cyrene couldn't hide her puzzlement and the edge of disappointment. "Seems unwise." "It's not about being unwise." Xi shook her head. "My grades can get me into any university I want. I could have stayed in Neon." "Then why?" Aunt insisted, she said simply. "She wants me here." Cyrene opened her mouth, then closed it. She didn't know the family politics, and for now, whatever had convinced Xi to relocate would have to wait. There was a whole day ahead, registration, classes, and Cyrene needed all her wits about her. "Fine," she muttered, sliding out of bed. "Let's get moving." 4. Is March 7th really March 7th? Shanghai City 11th Middle School. A school's name doesn't always tell you how good it is, but around most of Shenzhou, the first middle school tends to be the best. Shanghai City 11th was just ordinary. The weather was fine and the sun was bright, but Cyrene felt utterly drained now that vacation was over. Like the rest of her classmates, she trudged toward the teaching building with leaden steps. "Kurusai," she murmured. Xi shot her an annoyed look. "Don't think faking sick will get you out of special training. If you want to get into a good university, this coming year is going to be brutal. And could you please play fewer games from now on?" Xi added, scowling. She still couldn't forget seeing Cyrene half an hour before leaving, clearing multiple in-game events at once on her computer, tablet, and phone. Cyrene's talent points were clearly all invested in gaming. What really angered Xi, though, was that Cyrene had blown her small living allowance on gacha pulls to get the new Star Rail character, Long Night Moon. Xi had watched the whole thing, Cyrene hitting hard pity and even pulling the exclusive light cone for Long Night Moon. Spending extra money right after receiving pocket money. Would this idiot be eating instant noodles for the second half of the month? Cyrene, hearing Xi's motherly scolding, put on a cute, puzzled expression and tilted her head. "Meow?" Xi immediately turned away. It was unfair. Cyrene could weaponize cuteness with surgical precision, but Xi's resolve wasn't weak either. She'd promised Cyrene's mother she would get Cyrene into one of Shenzhou's top 10 universities. No matter how lazy Cyrene was, Xi would break her bad habits. Big Sister was ready to begin special training. Senior year, Class 11. Wow, March has become so beautiful after 2 months. Cyrene chattered as she sat down and caught up with her best friend she hadn't seen all summer. "You know, I really have a thing for the number 11. My school's rank is 11. I'm in Class 11, and my birthday is November 11th. Look, my favorite character, Alicia, has the same birthday as me. What are the odds? Little March, why aren't you saying anything?" March 7th. No, the girl who had legally taken the name Long Night Moon sat in the seat closest to Cyrene, listening quietly. Cyrene prodded. "Hey, March, did you really change your name?" Long Night Moon turned her delicate face and said softly, "Someone thought the name Zhao Shangji sounded unpleasant, so I talked it over with my parents. They agreed, and I took my mother's surname. Now my full name is Long Night Moon." "Who is someone?" Cyrene asked, a little jealous. Whoever could influence March so much that she'd change her name must be important. Long Night Moon's voice shifted a tone lighter. "It was me." Cyrene blinked. "Oh, so you wanted to change it yourself. I thought it was someone else." She wanted to keep chatting, but Long Night Moon suddenly turned away and fell quiet, staring out the window. Cyrene felt a prick of disappointment. After so long apart, their closeness had cooled somehow. Girls were inscrutable. Even she, being a girl, couldn't fully understand Long Night Moon's moods. The homeroom teacher walked in then, carrying a stack of test papers. Students, to see if your academic level slipped over the break, the school will run a diagnostic test at the start of senior year. Take out your pens and begin. The entire class groaned. Reality, cruel as ever. When Cyrene got her paper, she froze. The questions were like an unknown script. Didn't the real world suddenly feel like it was blending with the two-dimensional one? Why was her life still just school and exams, an uncompromising straight line between 2 points? Realizing she couldn't answer most of the questions and that she'd forgotten anything she hadn't fully learned, Serene sneaked a look at her deskmate. Long Night Moon sat motionless. Her eyes were unfocused, her pen untouched except to write her name and class. It was the same Long Night Moon who, despite long stretches away, remained the same indifferent student. Serene had always known her best friend was a poor academic, often near the bottom, sometimes fighting for second to last. That was oddly comforting. If she failed, at least she had someone as reliably bad as she was to fall back on. 7:40. Finally done, Serene stretched and grinned, then took Long Night Moon's small hand, still limp from daydreaming, and shook it. "Hey, wake up! The test's over!" Long Night Moon blinked. Light rushed into her eyes. When she met Cyrene's gaze, something familiar flashed across her face. It was that look. Exactly right. Cyrene's heart did a weird little flip. March 7th. A thought that had been half a joke all summer snapped into focus. Could this March 7th be the same March 7th from Cyrene's phone? Ever since Long Night Moon had changed her name, flags had been popping up. Connecting dots in her mind, Cyrene pictured Eden, the game, the character art, the nickname. Everything started to line up. She wasn't brilliant, but she wasn't that obtuse either. Long Night Moon, her best friend, might just be the character from her game. Wife or friend, Cyrene thought, grinning inwardly. Best friend or in-game wife, choose one. 5. Best friend, wife. Cyrene watched Long Night Moon with curiosity. From her little study just now, she'd concluded that her best friend seemed to run on 2 different operating systems. Operating System A was aloof, with an unknown login time, and had apparently gone offline after being crushed by an exam. Operating System B was naturally ditzy, the one currently logged in. It reminded her of the Long Night Moon versus March 7th split in Honkai Star Rail. The comparison nagged at her. In the game, Long Night Moon believed memories shape a person, so the same soul, given different experiences, could become 2 distinct people. Like Dan Feng of the High Cloud Quintet and Dan Heng of the protagonist group, same origin, different lives. Even if her friend were an alternate self of the game's March 7th, this real Long Night Moon had no Trailblazer experience. She was a brand new individual. Therefore, she was not Cyrene's wife. This March is not that March. How disappointing, Cyrene muttered. Then she reconsidered. But March 7th's character design is ditzy too. If their flavor is the same, maybe. She almost let her thoughts run to strange places, imagining replacing one with the other. No, stop. Little March is my best friend. How could I think such things? Philosophy was beyond her that morning. Cyrene decided theories about games, personalities, and alternate selves were too elaborate for her brain. She rated herself slightly above paramecium. Genius problems were not hers to agonize over. Whether her best friend matched a fictional character or not, she was Cyrene's best friend for life. March, don't be sad. One exam isn't the end of the world. Seeing her friend stunned by the test, Cyrene stepped forward, hugged the soft, warm body, and tried to soothe her. Long Night Moon had hardly written anything on the paper. Her score would no doubt be miserable. In Shenzhou, bad grades could bring real consequences. Unlike the game's March 7th, Long Night Moon had family, and grades meant pressure at home. She might have a rough time when the results came out. Tears sprang into the girl's eyes as she buried her face in Cyrene's chest. What am I going to do? I don't understand these questions, even though I studied so hard. Woo-woo. Feeling the dampness against her shirt and musing that girls seemed made of water, Cyrene smoothed her friend's hair and said, "It's okay, little March. If your family kicks you out for bad grades, you can come live with me. My place is pretty big." Long Night Moon, March 7th, lifted her head and blinked at Cyrene. Serene, if you're not good at comforting, you don't have to do it like that. Serene just smiled and kept stroking her hair. Her friend's hair felt softer than before. After a while, March 7th calmed down, and they packed their bags and headed home together. On the way, Cyrene couldn't help asking, "Hey, little March, did you ever do voice acting for MiHoYo?" March 7th hesitated. Voice acting? She explained that during last year's winter break, she had indeed worked at MiHoYo for a short time, but not as a voice actress. She'd done the front desk and billboard girl job for a month. Serene blinked. "So you were just a receptionist? Then who did the game's March 7th voice?" March 7th flushed. "I signed up for an internal character design contest at the company and ended up being chosen as a design subject for a new game. They sampled my vocal timbre and used AI to edit it into the in-game voice." "So the character's voice was made by taking your voice and processing it with AI?" Serene asked, phone in hand, astonished. "Basically," March 7th said, sticking out her tongue, "AI development's ridiculously fast now. A lot of jobs like voice acting have been replaced. The character is more like a virtual singer, Hatsune Miku or Luo Tianyi. The raw material came from me, but the final product was AI." Serene's eyes lit up. The pieces fit together well enough. There might be tiny logical gaps if she scrutinized everything, but the explanation that her friend's vocal timbre served as the basis for the game voice satisfied her. But a new question formed in her head. What about the character design and vocal sampling for Serene in the game, and for Alicia in Honkai Impact 3rd? 6. Marula Alicia? Hearing Serene's question, March 7th paused, frowned, and said, "She seems to be a fictional character. I'm not sure, but I heard the creation of that character is somehow related to that big star." "Is that so?" Serene felt a little disappointed. She'd hoped her favorite character had a real-life prototype. What a pity. "Wait, Alicia's counterpart in Honkai, Star Rail, is named Cyrene, and she looks exactly like me." Serene rubbed her head. She was sure she hadn't participated in any character design collection project, so the game's Cyrene definitely had nothing to do with her. But was it really a coincidence that the name was exactly the same? March 7th was her friend in real life. Cyrene stared at March 7th. It was time to properly interrogate her silly best friend. "Little March, I know you play Star Rail too, so you must know there's a character named Cyrene in Honkai Star Rail." Cyrene narrowed her eyes. "But why is her name the same as mine? Do you have any idea, little March?" March 7th looked away, not daring to meet Cyrene's gaze. She poked her fingers together awkwardly, then finally admitted, "Okay, they were soliciting names for the Chrysos heirs internally, and I thought your name sounded really nice, so I submitted it. I didn't expect it to actually pass." "Wow, what a coincidence," Cyrene deadpanned. "So, in a sense, Cyrene in Honkai is my daughter?" "More or less. But even though her name is the same, her voice acting is purely AI-generated, and the timbre is a bit different from yours. For example, it's not as pleasing as the real thing." Serene looked at the bright-eyed girl with no hint of guilt and felt both annoyed and helpless. No wonder her rare name ended up in a game. It turned out she'd been backstabbed by her best friend. Cyrene leaned in, pinched March 7th's cheeks, shook her head, and complained, "I can't believe you, you big dummy. You secretly tricked me. Do you know how much trouble I've had since the character Cyrene appeared? You have to compensate me." "Meow, meow, meow." March 7th tilted her head, playing dumb as usual. Escape wouldn't be that easy. Serene pulled March 7th close, bringing her face within 10 centimeters. Feeling the girl's breath and scent so near, March 7th flushed, awkward and shy. This kind of compensation is really not necessary. "What are you thinking?" Cyrene rolled her eyes, pulled out her phone, and showed March 7th an animated GIF, a chibi Long Night Moon doll doing a viral dance. "As long as you wear the Long Night Moon cosplay and let me film you doing the moves in this, I'll let your transgression slide. How about it?" March 7th looked troubled. "But I can't dance." Cyrene raised an eyebrow. "Is it a very complicated dance?" "It doesn't seem that difficult," March 7th sighed. But what?" Cyrene pressed. March 7th drooped, looking defeated. Despite sensing March 7th's resistance, Cyrene didn't let up. She really wanted to see March 7th, no, Long Night Moon, dancing with that cold expression. A beautiful girl with a cool demeanor forced into movement. That was exactly the image she wanted. Cyrene knew that two-dimensional beauties often had real-world prototypes, but whether they were exact counterparts was another matter. Still, her best friend could certainly play the substitute for March 7th. After the world line shift, March 7th's appearance had improved dramatically. In Cyrene's opinion, she was a perfect, beautiful girl. With a wig and colored contacts and March 7th's cosplay outfit, she'd surely outshine the original. Cyrene planned to head to a local market for cosplay outfits, but March 7th protested, saying MiHoYo had custom-made March 7th and Long Night Moon cosplay outfits for her. Cyrene's eyes lit up. They changed course for March 7th's home. An hour later, they arrived. After greeting March 7th's family, Cyrene impatiently dragged her to the bedroom. Tens of minutes later, March 7th emerged in a Long Night Moon cosplay, an almost perfect 1-1 replica of the game character. Cyrene gave an enthusiastic thumbs up. So beautiful. It's just, her eyes are a bit big, makes her look a little silly. March 7th glared. Hey, who are you calling silly? This young lady is clearly intelligent and clever. But your grades. Don't bring that up. After bickering for a while, March 7th suddenly went quiet. Cyrene, sensing something off, looked up. March 7th's eyes had lost their earlier innocence. They'd gone deeper, duller, the highlights gone. Cyrene recalled the legend of March 7th's second personality and realized with a chill, Long Night Moon had taken over. Is this the Long Night Moon personality? Cyrene asked, waving her hand in front of her. Long Night Moon raised an eyebrow. The dark red pupils behind the colored contacts showed a slight surprise. You actually know I have two personalities? What's so hard to distinguish? Cyrene pouted. An outgoing, a little silly personality isn't March 7th, and a cold, a little silly one isn't Long Night Moon? The air around Long Night Moon suddenly grew colder. Cyrene sneezed involuntarily. For a moment, she suspected Long Night Moon had awakened the powers from her game memories. Cyrene immediately regretted calling her silly. Joking about it online was one thing, but teasing the real Long Night Moon in person? That was asking for trouble, especially since Long Night Moon wasn't someone to be trifled with. 7. The wildly popular Long Night Rock. Meowry, I was wrong, meow! Realizing that this Long Night Moon wasn't the usual March 7th she knew, Cyrene crouched down instinctively, driven by a sudden, fierce will to survive. Baby, I'll still see tomorrow's sun, right? Long Night Moon watched her with mild amusement. Miss Cyrene, do you really think I'm foolish enough to kill someone who only offended me with words in a society governed by laws? Cyrene stared. The girl in front of her looked exactly like the character on her phone, if anything, even more beautiful. Not only did she match Cyrene's ideal perfectly, she also seemed faintly affectionate toward her. It made sense. The fact that March 7th had darkened didn't suddenly make her smarter or cruel. She wasn't a villain who would stab someone on a whim, and she clearly had no real resistance to cute girls. Every time Cyrene acted smugly adorable, Long Night Moon's expression softened. Jackpot. Cyrene struck a heart-shaped pose, winked, looped her arm through Long Night Moon's, and purred. Hey, I was just kidding. My March is the best person in the world. A vein throbbed at Long Night Moon's temple. She scowled. Cyrene, don't push your luck. Cyrene could tell Long Night Moon's words didn't match her tone. Beneath it, they were cut from the same cloth. So Cyrene switched tactics and turned on the flattery, lavish and practiced. You're so beautiful. This isn't cosplay, it's your true self. Even the Long Night Moon in the game isn't this pretty. Can you dance a little? Half an hour later, after a mix of coaxing and gentle trickery, Long Night Moon performed the Long Night Dance. She did it with a hint of resistance, a little stiff around the edges, but that reluctant expression only made the dance more authentic. If March 7th had been fully in control, she might have danced happily, but this version's hesitance was part of the charm. Cyrene filmed a 12-second clip and was ecstatic. Game characters online are cute, but for real dancing, you have to watch My Best Friend. After replaying the dance more than a dozen times, Cyrene decided this masterpiece shouldn't be her private treasure. With Long Night Moon's reluctant consent, she edited the clip, titled it simply True Long Night Dance, and uploaded it to Rhythm Short Video. She locked her phone and tried to forget about it. But something in Long Night Moon shifted. The girl's eyes suddenly cleared. Serene, who knew her friend well, recognized it in an instant. March 7th was back. She leaned in and asked in a low voice whether March knew about the other personality living inside her. March 7th gave only a warning look. The moment Serene mentioned the topic, Long Night Moon returned to the surface as if someone had flicked a switch. She blinked, confused. Huh, what just happened? When March 7th was in control again, Cyrene abandoned the line of questioning. Whether March knew about a second personality or not, how on earth had Mihoyo known about it? Could their character data collection be so thorough that simply making March 7th a representative for a month would reveal every hidden facet? There had to be more to it. But then again, with two-dimensional characters suddenly appearing in reality, some things were bound to be inexplicable. It was better to let events unfold. Truths would reveal themselves in time. For now, Serene's immediate worry was college. If other wives, the characters she adored, also manifested in the real world, they'd probably be the same age as these girls. Unlike her, who had no special background, those girls would likely attend top academies. If she wanted to be their classmate or an exchange student, she had to get into a good school. She squeezed March 7th's hand and made a vow, eyes blazing with determination. We have to study hard and get into the best university in Shenzhou. Study? Are you serious? March 7th pointed at herself. Me? Get into the #1 academy in Shenzhou? Believe in yourself, little March. You can do it. I can too. Half an hour later, they'd exhausted every method they could think of. March 7th slumped over the desk, utterly spent. Serene lay back and stared at the ceiling, helplessness in her eyes. Studying wasn't just talk, it required talent neither of them seemed to have. Still, the Shenzhou obsession with grades pushed Serene to try a little longer. 15 minutes later, she gave up and decided to rest. The silence lasted seconds before a cascade of notifications burst from her phone. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. What now? Cyrene fumbled for her phone. The lock screen opened to the Long Night Dance video she'd uploaded an hour ago. She froze at the view count. 1 million views? Million-view videos were common enough on Rhythm, but 1 million in just 1 hour was rare. If a clip could hit 1 million so fast, it could easily climb into the tens of millions, and the ad revenue from that would be more than enough to make both her and Little March pretty comfortable. Serene hadn't been wrong to think the Long Night Dance could go viral, but she hadn't expected it to explode this quickly. Curious, she scrolled through the comments. Caslana's Glory, best Star Rail video of the year. March's wife, holy cow, this Long Night Moon is uncannily accurate. Sparkle is the best. This Long Night Moon is the prettiest one ever. This has to be AI. Where's the AI prompt? Wait, this doesn't look like AI generated. Cyrene frowned, blinking at the screen. The discussion was just starting to heat up. 8. Why wear Xi Lian clothes on March 7th? After scrolling through the comments, Cyrene saw that almost everyone was praising the video for faithfully recreating Long Night Moon. A few people were arguing about whether the clip was AI generated, but to Cyrene that was harmless. Things are looking up. March, you're even riding on Long Night Moon's coattails now. Wait, you are the person, aren't you? March 7th mumbled, half asleep at her desk. Hey, don't fall asleep so early. Serene pulled March 7th upright and boasted about the video's view count. March had been indifferent to the clip at first. She'd only been dragged into it. Her memory of the earlier dancing was foggy and unpleasant. Her brain had conveniently suppressed it. Too lazy to think about it, she'd told herself. Not important. But when Serene mentioned the potential 5-figure income from the video, March 7th suddenly woke up. At least 10,000 Shenzhou coins in revenue? Her eyes lit. Even if we split it, I could get at least 10 top-ups of 648 yuan each this time. 10 648 yuan top-ups? Cyrene blinked. So March, you're planning to use that money to top up in-game? Shh, March 7th pouted. You've spent no less than I have. Who's fooling who? Cyrene had no reply. Then she remembered something important. Oh right, you don't know. To unlock all of Cyrene's special effects in the next update, you need 3 648 yuan top-ups. March 7th whispered, and she was better off staying quiet. If she'd said more, Cyrene would have exploded. Cyrene didn't often get angry, but this was outrageous. requiring paid top-ups just to unlock a character's visual effects? It was an insult. It felt like an attack on the in-game Sirene's dignity. Sirene wasn't greedy, she was outraged on principle. And anyway, even if players did top up, the money wouldn't go to her. MiHoYo is truly too evil, she declared. March 7th agreed, and the two of them condemned MiHoYo together, knowing full well that words wouldn't change anything. When the gacha banner opened, people who wanted the effects would still spend. But Sirene couldn't let it slide. They decided to make another video. This one would be simple. Sirene would cosplay as the in-game Sirene and say plainly, "Even if you don't top up, Sirene won't dislike you." It felt a little embarrassing but earnest. The only hitch was that Sirene didn't have a Sirene cosplay outfit. That problem solved itself. March 7th happened to have one at home. When Sirene asked why March owned it, March shrugged. "For my own use. Our figures are kind of similar after all." Sirene begged to see March in the outfit. March resisted at first, but after a little coaxing and some sly manipulation, she put it on. "So alike!" Sirene exclaimed. March 7th looked good in the costume. Beautiful girls could make anything look right. The outfit was at least 90% accurate. March's wide, innocent eyes gave her a slightly gullible look, but as a cosplayer, that didn't matter. Looks were what counted in this world. "Little March, why don't you be the lead?" Sirene suggested. "No," March refused. "All right." Sirene sounded disappointed and slipped into the costume March had just taken off. After a little adjusting, Sirene, now her own version of the game character, stepped in front of the camera. March 7th couldn't help gasping. "This is too beautiful." "How beautiful?" Sirene winked. Something odd happened when she put on the battle robe. Her body felt lighter, as if her spirit had been cleansed. It was a strange sensation. March's face flushed. Finally, she admitted, "It's just really beautiful." Curious, Sirene picked up the small mirror on the desk and took a look. She couldn't help admiring herself. She teased March, admired her reflection for a minute longer, then remembered why they were here. She had March pick up the camera and take a few photos. Then March held the phone out to record the video. Sirene noticed March's phone case, bright and light, and for a second thought of the earlier Long Night Moon performance. When March's personality changed before, her phone case had looked different. Was personality switching that fast? Before she could puzzle it out, March nudged her. "What are you spacing out for? Start talking, my arm's getting tired." "All right." Sirene slipped into character. She made a heart with her hands, put on a sweet, game-like voice, and mimicked the in-game Sirene. "Hello, everyone. I'm Sirene," she cooed. "In the next version, I'll be meeting you all. I know there's been a lot of buzz about me online recently. If the gacha banners and cumulative top-ups make you feel conflicted or pressured, I'd rather you use that money to buy a new outfit or enjoy a great meal. You don't have to prove anything to anyone that way. Your love is enough. Even if you don't top up, Sirene won't dislike everyone." Cut. March 7th stopped the recording and looked at her with appreciative eyes. "Not bad, not bad. One take." Sirene took the phone and watched the short clip. She felt the impromptu performance was solid. Maybe it didn't even need editing. They sent the video. March uploaded it, and Sirene reposted it from her own account. An hour later, the comments flooded in. "Star Treasure. Wow, the goddess of beauty has descended to the human world. You must be my long-lost wife. Golden Radiant Song. Little sister, I'm the big star Eden. May I ask where you live? It's Little Erosion. Meow. Where did you shoot this? Why didn't you come home? Mysterious Ailey. This Sirene is too accurate, and her voice even better than the original. Blogger. Who even are you two that you can find two 100% accurate cosplayers at the same time? Fireworks are the best in the world. MiHoYo should hire you as their poster girls. 9. You are my wife." As expected, Sirene's video shot up in popularity, hitting 1 million views in less than an hour. She wasn't entirely surprised. She was undeniably beautiful, and that kind of thing tended to get attention, but the comments had a strange energy. At first glance, they were full of praise for the cosplayer's looks. That felt nice, of course, but Sirene had originally posted the video to warn people not to be tricked by the game developers into spending money. Instead, the clip drew outsiders curious about which character she was cosplaying. Some bullet comments read, "If that's Sirene, I'd spend $20,000 to get her. and Cyrene flushed with irritation. She dove into the comments. Games are games, life is life. If Cyrene existed in real life, she wouldn't want people wasting money on unnecessary stuff. What? You have to pay to heal monsters now? Don't you dare give my Hoyo your money. Half an hour later, Cyrene realized with a sinking feeling that her video had not helped at all. If anything, it had made people call her wife nonstop and fired up the gotcha urges of her fans. It had been completely counterproductive. She gave up trying to save other people's wallets. She was annoyed. Heh. March 7th covered her mouth and snickered beside her when she saw Cyrene's sour expression. What are you laughing at? You're also a wife-level character, she teased. Cyrene glared. And a clumsy wife at that. Wife? March 7th froze. We're both girls. How can we call each other wife? Also, isn't that relationship developing a bit too fast? Idiot, Cyrene rolled her eyes and explained. In ACG circles, wife doesn't mean a real spouse. It's an abstract term for a character a player loves the most. It shows how much a character appeals to the player. So wife, marriage, real couple. Is that so? March 7th blinked. Oh, okay. Cyrene declared confidently, so from now on, you're my wife. But I'm not an ACG character. March 7th's cheeks flushed and she frowned. Calling someone wife in real life feels weird. That's true, Cyrene admitted. The timeline had changed, and her best friend looked just like the wife on her phone, but March 7th was a real person, not a virtual one. Cyrene had no romantic or lewd intentions toward her friend, only affection, so it felt better to keep the title private or use it playfully when March 7th cosplayed. Cyrene was reserved. With that settled, she shook her phone at her friend. Want to play a game? March 7th, still half embarrassed about the title, stopped overthinking and snapped to attention. Of course. What should we play? Cyrene scrolled through her phone, which was cluttered with ACG titles. Most of them were essentially single-player experiences, and competitive games were out. March 7th was notoriously clumsy. After a little pondering, they searched the App Store for something suitable. New game, Homu's Great Battle? Cyrene stared at the new game's download page. The name screamed red flags. Homu, homunculus rabbit doll merch. There was probably only one person who would make a whole game centered on an ugly cute rabbit doll. No, one person in particular. She was almost certain the game's creation had something to do with Bronya, a major character across the Honkai series. Bronya was a main cast member in Honkai Impact 3rd and had counterparts in Honkai Star Rail like Bronya Rand and Silver Wolf. Silver Wolf was especially popular, appearing frequently in events and connected to the protagonist before her amnesia. Across the Honkai universe, Bronya played a significant role. Why does the license number say none? The Homu IP is MyHoyo's, so maybe Bronya bypassed official channels and made this herself. But MyHoyo usually tolerates fan creations, right? She could have kept it legal, but she released it anyway? Classic Bronya. Cyrene didn't truly know what the suspected creator was thinking, but she downloaded the game without intending to contact Bronya. She was just an ordinary person. Reaching out might get her labeled a scammer. Besides, Bronya was a public figure for MyHoyo and had annual obligations with the company. She happened to live in Shanghai City, where MyHoyo's headquarters was located. Maybe, if they managed to get into the next MyHoyo fan meeting, March 7th could help Cyrene score a ticket and they could visit their wives at the headquarters. Hey, what are you spacing out about? March 7th waved a hand in front of Cyrene. The game's done downloading. Install it. Hurry. All right. Time flew. It was suddenly 10 o'clock at night. Okay, that's enough for today. Cyrene stretched after several hours of gaming and patted March 7th's small waist as she lay on the cashmere blanket. Hey, March 7th, put your clothes back on properly. Your waist is showing. It's getting colder. Don't catch a cold. March 7th was too lazy to move. I haven't beaten you yet today. One more round. All right, there'll be plenty of chances to play together, but it's late. I have to go home. Cyrene stood and tidied the barely opened books on the table. Today had been another unproductive day. 10. I found a cat night. Light rain, cold wind, an alleyway slick with wet bluestone. The young woman held an umbrella as she stepped along the stones. Between the steady patter of rain, her ears caught a faint whimper barely audible over the downpour. Under the dim yellow halo of a street lamp, Serene looked toward the corner and saw a small white cat curled up in a sodden cardboard box, its fur soaked through and its whole body trembling. She hesitated, then walked over to the kitten. Cyrene didn't care that it was dirty. She scooped it up without a second thought. When their eyes met, she froze. The kitten had a pair of sparkling sapphire blue eyes. Cyrene rarely called a cat beautiful. For pets, cute or adorable usually did well enough. But this kitten's eyes were extraordinary. In Cyrene's mind, this cat could be called the Aphrodite of felines. "I found a kitten. She's definitely coming home with me," Cyrene announced. Only then did the kitten realize it had been picked up. Its fur puffed and it squirmed, protesting. But when it saw Cyrene's face, it stopped resisting as violently. "Of course, I'm a beautiful girl. Even kittens can't resist," Cyrene teased. The kitten rolled its eyes, as if utterly unimpressed by her vanity. Cyrene laughed and leaned in. "Hi there, little homeless kitten. It's late and you're soaking wet. Want to come home with me?" She froze mid-sentence. Why was she even asking a cat? Cats didn't understand human speech. Then, to her astonishment, the cat nodded. "Did you just nod?" Cyrene's eyes widened. The cat nodded again. "Can you shake your head?" she asked on impulse. The cat paused, then complied, shaking its head once. "So you really understand human speech?" Cyrene's mind raced. She'd unlocked an option a week ago. Had that been a daily, harmless event, or the start of some urban supernatural plotline? If this kitten had a story behind it, bringing it home without thinking could drag her into trouble. Maybe the plot would escalate into something with magical girls or worse. Her tidy life might unravel. And yet, who could refuse a pitiful, drenched kitten? She guessed an ordinary cat wouldn't grasp complex commands. This one not only seemed to understand her, but was fluent in human gestures. Could it read too? "So you must have a story, right?" she asked. The kitten's eyes lit up. It hadn't even needed her to ask. A rescue already felt like a tremendous hope. This human was nothing like the others who had ignored or shooed it away. To the cat, it suddenly seemed possible she might return to being human. The kitten nodded eagerly. Serene took out her phone, opened the notepad, and switched the input method to handwriting mode. "Can you write?" she asked. Two clear tears rolled down the cat's face. Then, without hesitation, it extended a paw and began tapping on the screen with its pad. Letters appeared in neat strokes. "Help, I've turned into a cat!" Serene jumped, then instantly crouched beside the box. "Kitten, explain everything." A silent agreement passed between them. The cat typed. Serene read. Half an hour later, it all made sense. The cat had been a high school girl that morning. She'd been an ordinary student on her way to school when a small car struck her. When she came to, she was a cat. Soaked by the rain that day, she'd tried to approach people for help, only to be shooed away or treated with contempt. Exhausted and defeated, she had curled up in a cardboard box at the street corner and given up until Cyrene found her. "So this is fate," Cyrene said with a grin. "Looks like I, Cyrene, am your destined benefactor." "May I know your name, Miss Kitty?" she asked. The cat typed 7 large characters on the screen. Cyrene stared. Kiana Kaslana. Cyrene blinked and then, half embarrassed and half amused, gave a little uncertain imitation of a cat. "Meow, meow, meow. Are you really Kiana?" Cyrene didn't know what to say. The name Kiana Kaslana hit her like thunder, familiar to the point of reverence. The central heroine of the Honkai stories, the only one ever worthy of the Hersher of the End, the white-haired, blue-eyed beauty who had ascended to godhood in the endings of both Honkai installments. She looked like a moon goddess, full of cheer and warmth, strong and kind. Flaws? There were none she could see. Kiana was a picture-perfect, two-dimensional waifu. So how lucky could Cyrene be, randomly finding the protagonist of Honkai Impact 3 just wandering around? The cat could only answer with a soft, imploring mew. Holding the tiny creature in her arms, Cyrene's heart melted. Whatever had turned Kiana into a literal meowing ball of fluff wasn't important. This cat was adorable, and Cyrene wanted to keep it. "Hey, in that case, chi meow meow, you're coming home with me." She carried the cat back to the apartment. It was evening, 10:45 p.m. Cyrene opened the door, but before she could step inside, a shadow fell across her. She paused, then relaxed when she recognized the figure. "Oh, it's Xi. Xi glared at her, irritation clear in her voice. "Why are you home so late?" Cyrene flushed under the stare. I went over to March 7th to hang out. You don't know March 7th. She's my best friend. Best friend? She scoffed, then eyed the soggy bundle in Cyrene's arms. What, my dear sister suddenly decided to take in a cat? We have school, and during the day this place can't handle a mischievous cat. Unless we lock it in a cage. Chi Meow Meow bristled at Shi's tone, pupils widening and fur puffing. She let out a clear hiss aimed at the woman who clearly disapproved. Shi rolled her eyes. Stupid cat, don't hiss. Cyrene patted the cat's head and smiled despite the tension. Don't worry, the cat's really obedient, much better behaved than some people I know. Ha, it's late. I'll give it a bath first, then we'll sleep. Shi surrendered. There was nothing she could do. This was Serene's home after all. If Serene wanted to keep a stray, that was her decision. Maybe Serene would get tired of it in a few days. Maybe the owner would come looking. Shi had already inspected the creature. Dirty but plump, likely an expensive rag doll. Not exactly ownerless. Still, she resolved she would find a way to get rid of it if needed. Even a cat couldn't steal Serene's affection. A quarter of an hour later, Serene carried a faint, damp bundle out of the bathroom. She dabbed at the cat's nosebleed with toilet paper. Its constitution didn't look great. The cat had gone limp during the bath. After a few minutes of firm massage, Chi Meow Meow's eyes fluttered open. When she saw the girl in the towel, the cat blinked, let out either a sigh of relief or a tiny complaint, and leapt onto Serene's shoulder. Serene caught her reflection in the mirror. After drying with a hairdryer, the cat's fur fluffed into a perfect ragdoll coat, mostly white, but with purple tips on the ears, a purple patch on the forehead, and purple legs. The color pattern echoed the Hersher of the end, Siren's purple, so strongly it was uncanny. The little creature looked impossibly cute and strangely familiar. Serene lost her balance for a moment, and the cat slipped from her shoulder. She steadied her and hugged her close, taking a deep, satisfied breath. The cat smelled clean and warm. Meow, 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 Chi Meow Meow protested, pawing at Cyrene's face. Through the cat's expression, Cyrene half read what it meant. That's enough. I'm a human. Don't treat me like a real pet and start sniffing me. All right. Esteemed Miss Kiana, it's late. Let's get some sleep, okay? Meow. Okay. Serene tucked the cat under her chin and went to the bedroom. Lying on the bed, she couldn't resist one last curious move before sleep. She unlocked her phone and opened Honkai Impact 3rd. The main character model loaded on the battleship, Kiana in the Winter's Wish skin, perfectly matching the girl she suspected the cat might be. Hey, Chi Meow Meow, was your likeness used for the game's protagonist? She asked, half joking. Chi Meow Meow stared, then made an almost outraged sound. She began gesturing wildly, clearly trying to tell Serene something important. Serene didn't understand the pantomime, so she opened the phone's input method and started typing for the cat. Isn't this me before I transmigrated? How did I become a game character? Who made this game? Was it Bronya? Where are Theresa, Dad, and the people from Shixel? Can you help me contact them? Serene blinked. The messages made no neat sense. Memories tangled across worlds and formats. She couldn't follow the logic. It would be a huge task to help this cat girl find her way back to an entirely different universe. She sighed, deciding to postpone any grand rescue. To keep the cat occupied and quiet for the night, Cyrene handed her the phone. Here. The unlock code is 611111. Play some games, or try to contact your friends. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. Chapter 12. Chi Meow Meow is the real Chi Meow Meow. The next morning, Cyrene slapped off the noisy alarm and peeled down her sleep mask. As her thoughts cleared and her gaze focused, she saw a cat with dark circles under its eyes staring up at her. A flash of memory, the cat she'd adopted last night. Why did it look so exhausted? Morning, Chi Meow Meow? Did you stay up all night? Meow. The cat answered with a weak meow, looking thoroughly dejected. It didn't move much, just tapped at her phone with a paw. Curious, Serene sat up and checked the screen. There was a message, a long one. 500 words at least. Considering how slow typing must be with paw pads, the cat had obviously spent a long time on it. Serene began to read. Her emotions were a roller coaster. By the time she finished, her face was a complicated mix of worry, astonishment, and anxious calculation. Chi Meow Meow's identity was far beyond what she'd expected. She hadn't been a counterpart of March 7th from Honkai's Star Rail. like the March 7th who lived nearby. This cat was actually Kiana from Honkai Impact 3rd, the actual Kiana. According to Chi Miao Miao's message, she'd used Cyrene's phone last night to look up the Honkai Impact 3rd plot and found Kiana's experiences matched hers exactly, the only difference being that she'd crossed into a slightly later timeline than the game's. Cyrene stared at the words. Her favorite character, her wife, had crossed over into reality and was currently a cat in her apartment. A thrilled, giddy part of her brain kicked in. She'd always checked the option in her head, hoping a two-dimensional character would cross over. Even if it was a cat now, Cyrene's years of gacha experience told her one thing. Given time, that cat would turn back into human form. The problem would be figuring out how. Then Cyrene remembered a discrepancy from the message and narrowed her eyes. Taking advantage of the cat's guard being down, she reached out and lifted it gently by the scruff. "Miss Kiana, didn't you say last night you were still a high school student?" "As far as I know, Kiana in the game should be around 25 or 26 by Part 2, Cyrene went on. "How can there be a 25-year-old high school student? I shouldn't even call you Miss Kiana anymore. You'll be an auntie to kids in a few years." She watched for a reaction. If Kiana's personality here matched the game's, a little provocation would make her spill everything. The cat hissed. Of course, no one likes being called an auntie. Chi Miao Miao hissed, then swiped the phone from Cyrene so fast her paws left after images. Words spilled across the screen. Although this miss doesn't like talking about being a clone, strictly speaking, my birth year isn't 1998, but 2006. So this miss is 18 this year. And this miss was studying high school level subjects in my original life before crossing over. So where's the problem with being a high school student? Cyrene was speechless. She noticed the cat referring to herself as this miss. In the game, Kiana had used that verbal quirk more in Part 1 and less afterward. Had something about being a cat brought back the old speech habit? It was oddly endearing. "All right, I'll admit you're a high school student." Cyrene reached out and stroked the cat's head. Chi Miao Miao yelped at the touch. "Don't touch my head!" Cats were born to be petted, weren't they? My soul is human, but you are a cat right now. Forget it. By the way, this world isn't the Earth I knew. It seems to be a parallel world in the Sea of Quanta, like Dr. Tesla once mentioned. In short, hurry up and figure out how to build a quantum machine that can travel through time so I can go back to my own world. Me? Build a quantum machine? You're joking, right? I'm just an ordinary person. Chi Miao Miao realized how absurd her demand sounded coming from a normal high school student and had to adjust her request. Crossing into a Sea of Quanta parallel world is something Branya and the others have done a lot. I didn't expect it to happen to me. I just don't know why my power's been sealed. So really, you just need to help me get back my original power as the god of the earth. Cyrene blinked. 2 minutes later, the cat had run out of steam. Her eyes dulled, and she collapsed onto the sofa in complete despair, as if a meme had come to life. She never imagined she'd lose all her powers, turn into a cat, and be tossed into another world. Cyrene softened. "Why don't you just live here with me for a while? I'll feed you well, keep you comfortable, and there's Wi-Fi. You can play games and watch anime all day. It's not that different from your life on the moon, right? And you don't have to study. Also," she added, "even as a cat, your body can interact with humans normally. At my place, you'll be safe." Kiana's eyes brightened. That sounds pretty good. And besides," Cyrene continued, spinning a theory, "your disappearance as the god of the earth in the Honkai world was a huge deal. I'm sure Raiden May, Tesla, Theresa, and Siegfried are doing everything they can to look for you." "Oh, right. So just relax here for a while," Cyrene said. "Enjoy life. We'll figure out the rest later." "That's great." Chi Miao Miao finally seemed convinced. 13. Chance encounter. You really agreed? Cyrene didn't expect Chi Miao Miao to be such an easy sell. She had half planned that the cat would stay at her place for a long time. Although, thinking about how trusting Kiana was in the story, maybe it wasn't that surprising. So, it's settled for now? After making a little bed for Chi Miao Miao and tidying up, Cyrene shoved her school bag over her shoulder and headed for the door. "I'm off to school then. Go, go. Oh, and when you come back, bring me KFC. For the fried chicken, tell them only the triangular bone. There's a lot of meat on the triangular bone pieces. Wow, Chi Miao Mao, you're quite the foodie. Xi, who'd been waiting by the door, paused when she heard the exchange between Cyrene and the cat. After Cyrene said goodbye and they started walking toward campus, Xi couldn't help but ask, Cyrene, are you saying the cat you picked up yesterday can actually talk? Isn't a cat that smart bound to have an owner? Cyrene glanced back. Until we find her family, she'll stay with us. With us? Shishi's eyes flickered. Her family must be worried. Shouldn't we try to help her find them? Her family sounds like they're pretty far away. How far exactly? Probably about this far. Cyrene made a wide gesture, implying a very long distance. A cat can get lost that far? Shishi fell silent. Whatever that far meant, it was a lot farther than she expected. Well, who told her she was a smart cat? She muttered. A few minutes later, they cut the subject short when a woman with an exceptionally elegant air walked past. She had short hair and a strikingly beautiful face. A khaki trench coat hung over an off-the-shoulder, high-neck sweater. She wore a short Novag plaid skirt, white calf socks, and high-heeled loafers, every piece perfectly matched. Not only gorgeous, but impeccably dressed. Truly a one-in-a-million beauty. Hey, I didn't know you knew fashion so well, Shishi blurted. Huh? Cyrene looked baffled, then realized. Did I say that out loud? Obviously, Shishi laughed. You were practically announcing it to her. Cyrene covered her face, mortified. She hated making comments like that, and now the other person had heard her. Embarrassed, she wanted nothing more than to sink into the ground. To her surprise, the woman smiled faintly and greeted them with refined politeness. Hello, beautiful lady. Hello. Cyrene's hand dropped awkwardly. Under normal circumstances, she would have been thrilled to meet someone so pretty, but now she had just insulted her. Xi, who rarely saw Cyrene embarrassed, sidled back to watch the show. I don't know why, but you look very familiar, the woman said, then added, almost apologetically, Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Castoris. Castoris? Cyrene relaxed a little. The woman seemed a bit awkward, maybe shy. You can call me Castoris here, the woman added in a soft, calm voice. The people in Shenzhou call me Castoris. Castoris, the top seller of Honkai Star Rail? Cyrene couldn't help herself. Castoris went red, but didn't deny it. Cyrene hadn't expected her to be so low defense. A single joke had made the other woman bashful. Of course, this must be the shy, socially anxious version of Castoris, that maid of the shadow from Star Rail. No wonder her aura felt unusual. It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Castoris, Cyrene said brightly, determined not to let the girl stay flustered. Castoris's social anxiety looked severe, maybe worse than Huo, that fox girl from the Xianzhou Luofu, who at least had the excuse of being afraid of ghosts. In the game, Castoris's introversion was tied to a lethal touch. Was the real-life Castoris the same? Cyrene reached out to test the waters. A flicker of panic crossed Castoris's face, and she stepped back 2 paces. I'm sorry, I don't really like physical contact, she stammered. Don't like or can't? Cyrene asked. Castoris fell silent a moment. Can't. You're not like in the game, where touching someone kills them, are you? Cyrene pretended to be scandalized. It's not that extreme, Castoris said, cheeks flushed. There's no scientific explanation, but my touch brings people bad luck. I know it sounds absurd, but please believe me. Before Castoris could finish, Cyrene, already half closer, took her small hand. You. Castoris froze. It's okay, Cyrene said, smiling as if warmth itself radiated from her. How could bad luck be a problem for a beautiful girl? Friends matter more than a little bad luck. Cyrene's smile was bright and unbounded, like sunlight melting snow. Though Castoris realized Cyrene was deliberately bridging the distance, that fearless, generous reach stirred something warm and trusting in her. Maybe, as Professor Anaxa had once said, there were doppelgangers of feelings in the world, people who matched each other on a deep level. Castoris returned the smile, small and genuine. Beautiful lady, may I know your name? She asked. Of course, Cyrene grinned. Remember it, my name is Renee. Hello, Cyrene. If you have time, would you like to get coffee together? How about a coconut latte? Sounds perfect. There's even a big endorsement, meow. Now I have to post more updates, meow. At Castoris's invitation, Cyrene agreed to meet her at a nearby coffee shop. As a petty bit of revenge for Shi's earlier refusal to help, Cyrene ordered a bitter iced Americano for Shi when Castorisa asked what they wanted. To Cyrene's surprise, Shi not only accepted it, she finished the whole thing. The drink tasted like disaster, and Cyrene found herself convinced something was wrong with Shi's taste buds. Startled, she accidentally choked on her own drink. After a few coughs, Cyrene remembered Castoris's joking warning about bad luck. Choking on a drink was a low-probability misfortune, but if that was the worst of it, maybe the bad luck wasn't so bad after all. The coffee shop was the perfect place to talk, and the conversation quickly turned into more of a Q&A session led by Cyrene. Although Castoris looked a bit older, her gentle, soft manner made her every bit as girl-like as March 7th. Castoris was honest and open, so Cyrene managed to pull a lot of useful information out of her. She was a graduate student at Shanghai University, her advisor was Professor Anaxa, and she had a younger sister named Polixia, who was the same age as Cyrene. Polixia went to the middle school nearby and even sat in Cyrene's class. Most important of all, Cyrene got Castoris's contact information. "Is it almost time for school? I won't keep you," Cyrene said, getting ready to leave. Castoris hesitated, then asked, "Miss Cyrene, would you like to join our internal group chat?" "Internal group chat?" Cyrene tilted her head. "What do you mean?" Castoris rubbed her cheek, embarrassed. "I can't explain it well. I'll just invite you." "All right." Half a minute later, Cyrene clicked Castoris's invitation link and joined a group called Dinosaur Research Center. There weren't many members, but their display names made Cyrene uneasy. Earth Beast Superfan, Telepios, Jinsey, Pollux, Burden Bearer, Maide, Trickster Kitten, Sword Banner Noble, Caesar, Die. "Did I just join an incredible group?" Cyrene muttered. "Some of these people look like they'll be hard to get along with." Castoris watched her with a slight smile. Cyrene's silence said it all. She suspected that, aside from Castorisa and herself, the rest might be other Chrysos heirs. Why did she even think, also? She shouldn't be part of that level of thing, but she didn't ask. "What is the group for?" she finally asked. "Professor Anaxa thinks ancient dinosaurs weren't native to Earth, but high-dimensional creatures from other worlds," Castoris explained. "He started research on that, and in the process he met a lot of like-minded people and pulled them into this group." "Like-minded, or just people who think it's a fun hobby?" Cyrene couldn't resist. "Probably not at first," Castoris admitted. "But after they saw the professor's results, they all came to recognize him." "What results?" Cyrene asked, leaning forward. Castoris lowered her voice. "Please don't tell anyone. Professor Anaxa used cloning technology to create a kind of dinosaur that can survive by eating red soil." "An earth beast?" Cyrene's playful tone disappeared. She hadn't expected Anaxa to be both a theorist and a practitioner. She also knew that cloning and genetic editing used to be illegal in Shenzhou. "Did Professor Anaxa break the law?" she asked. Castoris shook her head. "No, the government now supports cloning and genetic editing. As of March, Shenzhou enacted new regulations that are very favorable to scientists exploring new fields." Cyrene let the topic go without pressing further. "Castoris, can I invite someone into the group?" "Who?" Castoris asked. "March 7th, Cyrene said. "Her? Sure." After sending the invitation to March 7th, Cyrene stood up to leave. Before they parted, she made a heart gesture and blurted out, "I like you." For a second, Cyrene worried that "like" might be misinterpreted, but Castoris smiled and returned the gesture. "I like you too." Warmed by the exchange, Cyrene turned to her inner circle and gushed. "Little Erosion, I finally met a girl who's perfect for cuddling, not for anything lewd. She'd make a perfect wife." Shi rolled her eyes. As the self-appointed shyologist who knew Cyrene best, she didn't miss a beat. "Someone who talks about wives and cuddling but has no backbone? Please. You're full of lust, not courage." Cyrene puffed her cheeks. "Can't there be a pure friendship between girls?" Shi snorted. "You still don't understand human nature. Be realistic. After repeated intimate contact, relationships don't stay the same. Humans are driven by genes, appetite, and desire. Your Just Sisters idea only works in two-dimensional stories. You know the meaning of wife all too well. If you want a harem, start one. Don't lie to yourself. Admit it, you're a lecher." Cyrene was momentarily speechless, then shot back. "Castoris isn't the type you're describing." Ah, right, Xi interrupted, merciless. Little Erosion, you really are a terrible little sister. Darn it, Little Erosion, you really are a bad little sister. Serene grumbled as she walked away, a smile tugging at her lips despite the teasing. 15. Two transfer students? Cyrene tried to correct her sister's misconceptions by saying inexplicable things like, the flowers are blooming so beautifully. Wouldn't it be unromantic not to appreciate them? Of course, it didn't work. Xi wasn't March 7th or Chi Miao Miao, so persuading her was never going to happen. They arrived at school, and Xi left briefly to finish her transfer paperwork. When Cyrene returned to class, she found March 7th already there and immediately launched into a theatrical complaint. What? Someone bullied you? Tell me who it is, and I, this maiden, will beat her until she spits out teeth. March 7th stood up, rolled up her sleeves to show her pale wrists, and said evenly, "There's no need to hit anyone." Feeling the curious stares of their classmates, a flustered Cyrene tugged March 7th's hand down. March 7th sat back down and asked, "Oh, Cyrene, did you just invite me to a group chat?" March 7th's expression turned sheepish. Her phone had gone off loudly when Cyrene sent the invite. She'd reflexively put it on silent and avoided the embarrassment of a ringtone in class. Cyrene said. "It's a weird group. You should know most of the members. They're the Chrysos heirs people." The Chrysos heirs? Yeah, Castorus, Phaenon, Aglaia, Maide, Meow Meow, and the rest. Wow, the whole Chrysos heirs crew? March 7th perked up. Though she'd voiced March 7th for Honkai Star Rail, she'd only provided voice work for MiHoYo and rarely talked to other voice actors. She'd been the mascot type and had a bit of face blindness. Meeting colleagues in person didn't leave much of an impression on her. Cyrene, in a dramatic flourish, added, "In a sense, I'm the Chrysos heir who inherited the divine authority of Oleron, the Titan of Years. And I'm the Chrysos heir who took over the demug of that nameless Titan. No, I have nothing to do with the pink-haired girl in the game." Serene quickly waved her hands. The name demug sounded cursed to her. She couldn't accept it. "We're almost adults. Let's not do these Chunibyu roleplay things anymore." "It's not Chunibyu. Ever since I was born, I was destined to fight to save the world." March 7th protested passionately. Their bickering made for a cheerful sight, and a few classmates smiled indulgently. That mood cut short when the homeroom teacher, a stern-looking woman in glasses, walked in and called for attention. "All right, class, time for lessons. Take out your textbooks. Before we start, I'd like to introduce two new transfer students." Whispers of excitement rippled through the room. Then a girl who looked almost exactly like Cyrene walked in, and most of the class went silent. "Hello, everyone. I'm Xi," she said. The room erupted. "What's going on? She looks just like Cyrene." "Her name is Xi. Sounds like family. Could she be Cyrene's twin?" "Since when did Cyrene get a twin?" Murmurs tangled with other remarks. A few people referenced games and characters. Erosion, Little Erosion, and someone even joked about a cardiac arrest. A couple of classmates dramatically called Cyrene their wife, which left her bewildered and more than a little uncomfortable. Cyrene watched the reactions and felt uneasy. Why were people acting so strange? And why the odd nicknames? She hadn't noticed anything different in her daily life. Had she missed something? "Pick any seat you like, Xi," the teacher offered. Xi came to Cyrene's desk, exchanged a look with her, and then turned toward March 7th. "Long night moon," she said politely. "Would you mind switching seats?" "No." March 7th bared her teeth in a cute feline snarl. Xi gave a small, amused scoff. Seeing Cyrene's warning look, Xi shrugged and moved to the other seat beside Cyrene. "Then I'll sit here." The girl who had originally been in that seat packed up miserably. "Woo-woo. Farewell, my serene wife," she wailed as she shuffled away, and Serene revised her opinion of Xi. Okay, this younger sister of hers was definitely a little scary. March 7th suddenly tugged Serene's sleeve and pointed to the podium. Serene followed her gaze and felt as if she'd been struck by lightning. A tall, beautiful girl, well over 1.7 meters, stood on the stage. Her eyes shone with a golden glint, and her hair was a soft gray. She looked straight at Serene and March 7th as she introduced herself. "Hello, everyone. I'm Sing. The reason I transferred to 11th Middle School is to find my old friends here. I hope that in the coming school life, we can help one another and grow together. Xing walked to the desk in front of Cyrene and smiled. May I sit here, beautiful lady? You may, Cyrene managed. The classmate in the front desk moved to make room, blushing. Cyrene sat stunned. It wasn't just that the new student was Xing, the protagonist from Honkai Star Rail. It was how different she looked from everyone else. While most students had the customary black hair and dark eyes of Shenzhou, Xing's gold-flecked pupils and gray hair made her look like she'd stepped straight out of the game's artwork. Her features and color scheme were so distinct that Cyrene could have sworn she'd materialized from another world. When class finally ended, curiosity pricking like a kitten's paw at her heart, Cyrene wasted no time. She jabbed Xing's shoulder with her pen. Hey, are you wearing a wig and colored contacts? 16, a star from the F line. The girl turned, confusion on her face, golden pupils reflecting Cyrene's silhouette. March 7th leaned in, curious. Stella looked exactly like the character on Cyrene's phone, but dressed like that at school, flamboyant to say the least. If she could, March 7th would probably dress up like that too. Yo, if it isn't Miss Pink Puppy. Stella shrugged and smiled. Why don't you take a guess first? I won't guess. Cyrene's face puffed up like a pufferfish. Correction, I am not Pink Puppy. Heh. Others might not recognize you, but how could I not? Stella stayed cheerful and playful. Fine, then don't tell me. Cyrene turned away, tsundere as ever. All right, Cyrene baby, don't be mad. Stella lowered her voice conspiratorially. Actually, I gained power from outside this world. Power from outside this world? Cyrene and March 7th exclaimed at the same time. Even Xi, who'd been pretending not to care nearby, pricked up her ears. The commotion drew more eyes across the room. Seeing most of the class watching, Stella quickly backpedaled, remembering her boss's warning. Oops, I was just kidding. There's no such thing as superpowers. I'm actually wearing a wig. You're treating us like fools. March 7th slammed the desk, glaring. She was short, but her presence wasn't diminished. Seeing her anger, Stella hurried to placate her, cupping her hands. My mistake. March 7th, heroine. I shouldn't have joked. As a token of apology, I'll treat you to bubble tea after school. Bubble tea? March 7th's eyes lit up. She immediately softened. That's more like it. But this girl wants a supersized strawberry milkshake. No problem. Cyrene, though annoyed at being tricked, noticed a few odd things about Stella. From years of cosplaying, she could tell Stella wasn't wearing colored contacts. And why would someone with a real secret reveal it in front of a crowd? More importantly, Cyrene already suspected there was something strange going on in her own house. Fishy cat from Uehai. Supernatural things could exist here. There was something fishy about this Stella. She decided to wait until after school to question her. For now, she had one more question. Stella, why did you transfer to our school? It's not especially famous around here, right? Good question. Stella beamed at Cyrene. I came here specifically for you. As for why I transferred into this class, you'll have to ask yourself. Cyrene frowned. Me? I haven't revealed anything to the outside world, have I? Are you sure you haven't revealed anything? Stella narrowed her eyes. Think carefully. Let me think. A moment later, Cyrene's expression shifted. Are you talking about my dance videos? Something like that. Stella shook her head. You were careless, Cyrene. Your account spilled a lot of information. Your location is Shanghai City. You're 17, and the elective textbooks on your desk in the video make it obvious you're a senior. Plus, using Alicia's birth date in the game and the timing of your banner, we traced you to Class 11, Grade 12 at Shanghai City 11th Middle School. Wow, you're a modern-day Sherlock Holmes. March 7th gaped. Stella pretended to be modest, but she couldn't help the smile tugging at her mouth. The deduction had actually been made by Miss Herta, her brilliant ally, and Stella happily accepted the credit on her behalf. Cyrene muttered weakly, I have nothing to do with Alicia or Cyrene. Meow. Heh! Stella rolled her eyes. Wearing the Cyrene cosplay made her look exactly like the in-game Cyrene, and with Little Erosion's sister by her side and March 7th nearby, anyone could put two and two together. Her remembrance miss didn't seem very clever, probably infected by the silly March 7th. That would make them easy to manipulate in the future, though a bit of silliness also made them easy to warm to, and that could be useful. They chatted until class started. The life of a senior in high school was busy. Evening, 18, bubble tea shop. You mean you work for Herta? March 7th's brain overruled her manners. And Herta sent you back to school because she thought your brain was too slow? Wait, shouldn't you be a proper high school student? What do you mean, you're the original Stella? After hearing Stella's story, March 7th was utterly bewildered. Cyrene shared her disbelief. Stell hadn't been joking earlier. She really did have memories from another world. Following Chi Meow Meow from the Honkai world, Cyrene had found a second traveler from elsewhere. Stella's origin was even weirder. She seemed to have memories from the IF line of the Star Rail, a timeline where the great Black Swan Lady didn't intervene, the bad ending where Herta perished, Jingliu ascended, and the Astral Express crew were wiped out except for Stella. No, saying I'm the original Stella isn't quite right. Stella looked troubled. I accidentally absorbed the memories of me from that world. I'm still a local. However, after those memories merged with mine, my body changed. My appearance changed. That's what you were curious about. Miss Herta discovered the anomaly and dragged me into her lab. But Miss Herta is beautiful and kind-hearted. She wanted me as her assistant, so she sent me back to school to study. So it was the pointy hat lady, March 7th exclaimed, connecting the dots. Curious, Cyrene asked, after the memories merged, how did it feel to see Herta again? Nostalgia, longing, relief, happiness. Stella sighed. Even though Herta in both worlds uses me as a guinea pig, I know she's a good person. Cyrene blinked. Your definition of good person is kind of strange. 17, Arrogance Black Tower. It looks like you're very curious about Miss Herta. Seeing Cyrene and March 7th crowded around with questions about Herta, Star smiled. I haven't seen Herta in a day. I kind of miss her. Why don't we go visit Miss Herta together? Time to unlock a new character? Cyrene wanted to complain. She liked making friends, but this was getting ridiculous. She could bump into Chi Meow Meow on the street, meet Miss Castoris on the way to school, and now Star, her new transfer friend, was introducing her to Herta. If this kept up, would Herta have to hand down more connections? Still, Cyrene was genuinely excited to meet the reputed erudition emanator, who might become the pure beauty emanator. All right, please introduce us, she said. An hour later, on the outskirts of Shanghai City, Star led them down twisting back roads to a strange sunken cave. A high-tech security door sealed the entrance. Star unlocked it with facial recognition, and the door slid open onto a vast, brightly lit station. None of them had expected something so huge under the suburbs, a complex that had to cover tens of thousands of square meters. Cyrene touched one of the pristine, glassy tables and felt a weird jolt of déjà vu. The station's interior layout was exactly like Herta's space station in the game. For a moment, she wondered if she'd somehow transmigrated into the game's Herta space. Once inside, Cyrene and March 7th didn't need Star to lead the way. They both surged ahead, drifting naturally toward the southwest section, Herta's office. Star chuckled. You two know the map well, huh? Of course, March 7th snorted. Anyone who's played Honkai Star Rail can read this layout. But the station was eerily empty. There were no people, not even the little Herta helper robots that should have been running around. It's so quiet, Cyrene frowned. Star glanced back. It might be surprising, but don't judge by size alone. The Herta space station was only finished 3 days ago. 3 days? Cyrene repeated. Star explained. Herta unlocked her genetic restriction lock around the same time I regained my memories, a week ago. Building a station this big in just 4 days is practically miraculous. So that's why Asta hasn't turned up yet, Cyrene murmured. Herta hasn't had time to hire her. Cyrene ran the timeline through her head. Her body had changed about a week ago, too. It seemed everyone had shifted simultaneously. Herta really had moved fast. Cyrene had no doubt this Herta space station could one day be launched into actual orbit. The name wasn't just for show. Star lowered her voice, conspiratorial. I'll tell you something. Herta made a breakthrough in AI recently. She already has blueprints for little Herta robots. In a few days, there'll probably be little Hertas everywhere in the station. And she's collected a bunch of exotic items, Star added. March 7th, if you see anything weird in here, do not touch it, under any circumstances. Okay, March 7th agreed, then blinked. Hold on, why are you warning only me? Because you're silly, March 7th, Star said, as if it were an irrefutable fact. That made March 7th snap. She launched herself at Star, tiny fists swinging. Star fled, clutching her head and squealing. After a few minutes of harmless chaos, they reached Herta's office. Star, bruised and pouting, knocked on the door. "It's me, Herta? Why are you back already?" came a cool, mature voice. The door opened, and Herta froze for a beat when she saw the group filing in. "Oh, little gray hair? You've only been gone a day, and you've already made so many friends?" Star grinned. "Hey, just introducing more people to Miss Herta's glory." "Stop flattering me," Herta snapped, but there was warmth under the edge. She had found Star on the roadside 7 days ago and taken her in. Star had agreed to be her test subject and assistant out of gratitude, but Herta soon discovered that Star couldn't keep pace intellectually and had a talent for talking herself into trouble, so Herta had shipped her off to school as a practical solution. Herta hadn't expected to see Serene, of all people, on the other end of those introductions. Herta and Serene sized each other up. Herta's temperament was exactly as Cyrene had expected, sharp and overconfident, but her appearance matched that intellect, cerebral beauty, poised and commanding. Compared to March 7th's bright energy, Star's liveliness, and Castoris's gentle presence, Herta had a cool, intellectual allure. The most striking thing was Herta's eyes, confident, penetrating, utterly captivating. As for Herta's figure, Cyrene decided not to linger on that thought. One odd thing nagged at her. In the original story, Herta had a very distinctive magical girl style, complete with a witch's hat. The Herta before her wore a magical girl gown, but no hat at all. Cyrene bit back a mental complaint. Bring back the pointy hat. Still, she greeted Herta politely. "Hello, Miss Herta. I'm Cyrene." Herta's expression softened a little. Cyrene was a face-con herself, Herta noticed. Although proud of her own looks, Herta had to admit Cyrene was nothing to scoff at, truly the kind of beauty the title Pure Beauty fit. A pity it was paired with an ordinary life. Miss Herta, why aren't you wearing your witch hat?" Cyrene blurted. Herta's eyes flashed. "Because it's bad luck." Star groaned theatrically. "Oh, who told the Herta in the parallel world to fail on the way to Amphorius, sacrifice herself to become the brain of the Iron Curtain, and turn into Emperor 3? Whether Herta lost her head or not, isn't being absorbed by the Iron Curtain the same as Mami Tomoe-senpai losing her head in Puella Magi Madoka Magica?" Star added with a wicked grin. Herta's face turned dangerous. "Little gray hair, do you want to see tomorrow's sun?" Sorry. Star stuck out her tongue and shrank behind Cyrene. "Miss Herta, you're magnanimous. Just pretend I farted, all right?" 18. Lady Black Tower. Miss Herta's anger simmered down, but Xing quietly started chatting with March 7th again. "March, you have no idea how miserable we got in that world after Miss Herta left. Since Miss Herta disappeared from the simulated universe, our Astral Express crew's weekly Stardom income dropped by more than a quarter." "Oh," March 7th asked, puzzled. "Isn't Stardom just a game currency? Xing, did you mix game mechanics with your past life memories?" "Not at all. The main plot never mentions Stardom, but it's basically a kind of currency, rarely talked about, but you need a ton of it when you use it," Xing said seriously. "In the galactic universe, Stardom isn't a gacha resource, it's fuel for the train. If we Trailblazers want to go further down the path, we need more Stardom. Generally, the more Stardom you have, the stronger a Trailblazer you can become. So Miss Herta's fall triggered a chain of disasters. If Uncle Yang had taken a few more steps on the path, he might not have been defeated by Lord Ravager Zephyro." "Is that so?" March 7th widened her eyes. "Stardom is really that powerful?" Xing sighed. "Of course. How can you become strong without spending money?" "Makes sense," March 7th said. "So how do we get Stardom?" "How about this? V me 50 and I'll tell you how to get Stardom from Miss Herta," Xing offered. "All right, I'll add you as a friend." March 7th agreed at once. "You idiot, she's just kidding." Serene cut in, pulling her bewildered friend back from the conversation. Watching March 7th's gullibility, Miss Herta laughed aloud beside them. "Fine, you've succeeded in flattering this genius. So what do you want? This genius won't be stingy with rewards." A reward?" Serene blinked. "Miss Herta, we're not here for rewards." "Not for a reward?" Miss Death. Herta produced a lie detector from her pocket and watched the green light flash. She frowned. Then what are you doing here with this genius? We came purely out of admiration for you, Miss Herta. Serene blinked. Wrong. The lie detector in Miss Herta's hand turned red. No more hiding. This genius hates lies. Serene's face flushed. She mumbled shyly, Fine, because Miss Herta, you're a beautiful girl. That's why I came. Miss Herta stepped forward, lifted Serene's chin, rose, and studied her. The girl's gaze was simple and fierce, utterly sincere. Not bad, very genuine. In that case, I accept your affection. Say it again. Now you can make a request to this genius, Miss Herta prompted. I really don't want anything. Cyrene shifted. I'm just making friends. I have no ulterior motives. Miss Herta continued to tempt. Wealth, status, power, choose any one, and this genius can grant it. Cyrene shook her head. I still don't want anything. An almost eternal lifespan, an invulnerable body, the power to fully shape your destiny. Do you really want none of that? Miss Herta pressed. Miss Herta stared, puzzled. That sounds pretty good. Cyrene sighed softly. But power comes with responsibility. Great strength can bring trouble. Maybe that's not something I want. What's with that look? The more Miss Herta watched Cyrene's detached expression, the more determined she became to persuade her to accept a reward. Plainly put, you have character, and you've caught this genius's attention. Her voice grew stern. Without power, you cannot protect your companions. If they face mortal danger, will you let fate decide for you? Of course not, Cyrene sighed. Miss Herta, I understand what you're saying, but you may not have considered that for some unlucky people, power equals pain. Miss Herta paused, then explained. As a genius, she knew the gulf between people was a chasm. For someone like her, gaining power meant choosing a research direction, rounding up a few test subjects, collecting data, and harvesting results. Power through science brought her joy. She had, however, overlooked how ordinary people had to struggle, and often suffer, to obtain power. Wealthy commoners might rise via technology, but the poor would need brutal training, injections that mutated their bodies, or even fill their inner worlds with pain to extract strength. No matter how hard ordinary people worked, their gains were often the equivalent of a genius's single day in the lab. Her lips curved into a satisfied smile. Fortunately, this universe had no nous, no malignant god blocking the flow of knowledge, so she could draw from the sea of knowledge whenever she wanted. Her prospects were limitless. Under Cyrene's bewildered stare, Miss Herta suddenly broke into delighted laughter. Hey, excellent, excellent. This genius is becoming more and more fond of you. She didn't care what Cyrene or the others thought. With a snap of her fingers, a hidden door popped open. Having power but not using it is different from not having it at all. This door leads to my #1 collection room, my most precious, wondrous items. Go, follow your heart, take the wondrous item you need most. There was no room for refusal. Reluctantly, Cyrene stepped into the secret room. A few minutes later, she emerged holding a single spherical item. That's it? Only one? Cyrene asked. Miss Herta arched an eyebrow. That's enough. Cyrene bowed slightly. Thank you for your generosity, Miss Herta. Cyrene hesitated. Miss Herta, there is a favor I need to ask. I have a cat, but I can't understand what she says. Oh, Miss Herta's eyes lit up. You want a wondrous item like a synesthesia beacon? Yes, Cyrene fidgeted. If it's too much trouble, forget I asked. Sk. Miss Herta made a scoffing noise. You woman, I don't know whether you're flattering me or testing me. Never mind. Who told you to be the second woman to pique my interest? March 7th cocked her head. Who was the first? Cyrene and Xi glanced at the charred remains on the ground. The first woman in Miss Herta's interest had apparently met a terrible end. A synesthesia beacon that translates every language might take time, Miss Herta said, but one that translates only human-cat communication isn't difficult. Bring your cat tomorrow. I'll copy the language information from her cerebral cortex. If there's nothing else, you can go now. Miss Herta waved them away. All right, Cyrene added timidly. My cat might hiss a lot, Miss Herta. Please be careful tomorrow. What is there to fear from a cat? Miss Herta sniffed. Oh, and if you meet a Zandic doppelganger in reality, eliminate him quickly. If you can't, at least don't let him create a warped construct like Noose in our world. And if you encounter people like Ruan Mei, Yu Qingtou, or Screwlum, bring them to this genius's office. I'll test their true abilities and see if they're worthy of the title genius. Okay, Cyrene nodded. They set Stell. the limp, charred woman they'd been carrying, down on a haystack. March 7th patted her chest, shaking with relief. Phew, Miss Herta's pressure is immense. I was so nervous. You don't look very nervous, Serene said, rolling her eyes. She gave the motionless Stella a light kick with her small boot. Get up, stop playing dead. Stella, who'd been stiff, suddenly relaxed and climbed up with a smirk, dusting herself off. In a short while, she looked perfectly normal. Not only were her clothes unscathed despite being at the center of Miss Herta's metaphorical nuclear blast, the soot that blackened her skin had vanished. Her complexion was brighter than before the visit. Beauty, not science. Some things were simply inexplicable. It's still early. What are our plans for tonight? March 7th asked Cyrene. Come to my place, Cyrene said. By the way, I picked up a super cute purple catworm yesterday. She understands human speech and might someday summon a purple electric dragon. March 7th blinked. What do you mean? Exactly what it sounds like, Serene replied with a teasing smile. No spoilers. If you're curious, come tonight and meet the catworm. Of course, Cyrene took March 7th's hand. Girls holding hands while going home was perfectly normal, right? 10 minutes later, March 7th shivered and turned to look at Stella, who was trailing them like a pale shadow. Why are you following us? March 7th demanded. Because I'm homeless, Stella answered matter-of-factly. I've lived in trash cans since I was little. Wherever I go, that's home. Then today, Stella announced, I'll live in the trash can outside Cyrene's house. I'll add my own comment. A trash can? March 7th let out a sharp cry. How can anyone live in a place like that? Serene glanced anxiously at the medium-sized trash can sitting just outside her door. If this were the game, she thought, Xing might actually be fine spending the night in a trash can. After all, everyone knew Xing and trash cans had a special relationship in the game, but real-life rubbish cans held nothing but smelly, filthy garbage. Xi curled her lip in disgust. Cyrene couldn't bear the thought of a pretty girl sleeping on the street, so she hurriedly invited Xing in. That's too pathetic. You can't live in a trash can. If Star Treasure doesn't mind, why don't you stay at my place tonight? Cyrene held out her hand. It was her duty, she decided, to make sure every beautiful girl had a home. Before Xing could answer, Xi hissed. She could tolerate Cyrene keeping a cat, reluctantly. Keeping a stranger in the house was another matter entirely. No way. We don't let weird people in our home, Xing bristled. Hey, who are you calling weird? I am the galactic baseballer who spans the universe, deliverer of Duralothix, harmony keeper of Penacony, and extraterrestrial deliverer of Amphorius. March 7th intoned dramatically. Mimi and I share a bond others can't possibly understand. Wait. Xi raised an eyebrow. If what you said earlier is true, then the Astral Express crew from the other world line you came from shouldn't have passed through Amphorius, right? Where did your bond with her come from? Xing stammered, then said, with mock gravity, a bond from another parallel world is still a bond. Heh. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Humph. Are your thoughts any less suspicious? Seeing the argument escalating, Cyrene quickly stepped between them. What's the fuss? It's just letting Xing stay here for a bit. Once she earns some money and can afford a place, she'll move out, right? She looked at Xing, so small and docile she almost looked like a baby, and 1,000 schemes flickered through her mind. According to the game's settings, Xing was an all-rounder with real skills, sim-testing the simulated universe, hand-making cat cakes, being a shianzo chef, raising earth beasts, ghost hunting. Maybe the limits of Earth meant her potential wasn't fully realized, but even ordinary live streaming with her talents could bring in good money. Besides, Xing visited Miss Herta all the time. With Herta's resources, even a scrap of help could mean financial freedom. Oh, right, Serene said, looking Xing over. You probably don't have a change of clothes, do you? You can't wear the same size as Little Erosion. I'll get you something. Xing nodded. March 7th brightened. It just so happens I have a large-sized cosplay outfit for Xing at home. And why do you have so many cosplay outfits? Serene asked, speechless. And why keep sizes that don't fit you? I don't know. The company gave them as free employee benefits. Why not keep them? March 7th suggested, Treasure Lian, you and Xing go see the cat first. I'll run home and bring the clothes. All right. Chi Miao Miao is a cat. She has a human soul trapped inside, but at the moment, she is very much a kitten. After suffering an unexplained attack, she transmigrated to another world and became weak and helpless. Luckily, she met a kind god and found a warm home. Ever since she learned this morning that her life and the lives of her companions had become part of a game, Chi Miao Miao spent the entire day catching up on Honkai Impact 3rd storylines through games and videos. There were main plots she had participated in, main plots she had missed, and side activities her companions had in the small worlds inside the Sea of Quanta. So many things happened to May and Bronya that I didn't even know about, she muttered, scrolling. That detestable Bronya, traveling through all those fascinating worlds and not telling me. The class monitor had it so rough before. How did she get convinced by my smooth talking? And May, she didn't even tell me the full story about the Elysian Realm. Having just finished watching the Elysian Realm arc, Chi Miao Miao had tears in her eyes. The price humanity paid to defeat the Honkai was impossibly high. Even flame chasers of the previous era, in order to fight Honkai, had their main bodies martyred and then saw their remembrances die agonizingly fighting erosion, dying twice over. The story's emotional weight made Chi Miao Miao want to pull gacha aggressively, but in the current version, there were no flame chaser reruns. She felt a pang of melancholy. Alicia was so perfect, and it was a pity such a perfect girl had perished so early in her intrinsic world. Sigh. May's getting reeled in by Alicia. If I were May, I'd probably fall even faster. She tried to console herself. Answer me, Alicia, then snorted a laugh at herself, imagining May's strange noises. Her sadness soon dissolved into amusement as she switched to funny clips. As she neared the end of a binge of popular Honkai videos, she noticed related titles, Honkai Gakuen 2 and Honkai Star Rail. After watching the Kiana World Destruction CG from Honkai Gakuen 2, she shifted to Star Rail content. The Astral Express can travel freely through the universe. How envious, the comments read. Other bullet comments flooded the screen. Oh dear, why is this Destruction Aeon so evil? Miss Jingliu is so cool. In the beginning, there was action. Woo woo, little Bai is so miserable. Why is the counterpart of old ancestor Kevin just as miserable? Serene, his pant. Why does Big Xi Lian look so much like Alicia? They're definitely counterparts, like Acheron. Wait, the person who picked me up seems to be named Serene. Then is her twin. Ha! Chi Miao Miao giggled as the barrage of fan comments scrolled by. Alicia is my wife, and Serene is my wife, flashing across the screen, when, at that exact moment, Cyrene pushed open the front door.